think as trainers we can be kind of arrogant that our way is the way.
Yeah.
And then it dawned on me one time training a lot of basketball guys, but I was watching the All-Star game. So say there's 12 guys on each team, 24 guys in the All-Star team, and I was like, every single guy has a different trainer on this All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
So the 24 best guys in the world train 24 different ways.
Yeah.
Kind of like maybe like chill out with like thinking your way is the only way.
Right.
I don't even know why I do this, but probably once a year I'll do calf raises. And because this summer I was training a guy that was coming off an Achilles.
Yeah.
And it was all sort of calf stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the team had this calf rehab, like this calf protocol that we were doing.
Yeah.
And I would always kind of look, and I'd like look at him doing the calf raises, and then like look down at my puny calves and be like, I should do them, and then I just wouldn't. But I think it was last week. I just did. If you don't do calves, I did 2 sets of 10 single leg body weight calf raises.
Oh, you'd be sore for a month.
So sore.
Yeah.
So and I'm like, I'll do them next year.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever have to deal with this soreness.
Yeah.
I'll just keep wearing pants and call it a day.
That's why I remember talking about calves when we were at the Shores one day. We were hanging out at our pool.
Yeah.
And you said something, and like my calves have always been string beans, and you're like, oh, you got better calves than me. I was like, what? I've never heard that. You know, the only thing that ever made a difference for my calves, I tried everything. I tried 10 sets of 10, was the 5-second pause at the bottom. I got that from Dante Trudell.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing that ever worked.
Well, so actually, when I first started lifting, I was inspired a lot by the dog crap stuff.
Yeah.
But I would do that. And then he also recommended putting calves at the start of your workout because it doesn't impact anything else. And
I think it also makes your squat better, too, because you get that stretching, the Achilles and everything.
Yeah, so I did it. I mean, I probably did that for like a year. And, I mean, my calves are so bad that I'm relatively good at chin-ups. Anytime I post a video of chin-ups, people tell me I'm cheating because my calves are so small. They're like bad. So I have a very low starting point. So they went from like, after doing that style calf raise first in the workout, I probably did, I'd say 2 years. I probably didn't stick to it for 2 years. It was like maybe a year. And I'm like, they went from like atrocious to just like really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually don't care about calves. Everyone has a different, I'm like, fuck it. Like doing it at the start of the workout makes like total sense. The rationale makes sense. But I was just like, this makes me not like every single workout I do.
Right.
So like, I just stopped doing calves.
Yeah.
And they're bad. So it's not like, I would say don't do it if you wanted good calves, but I would say like, it is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like they get worked at decent. I do a shitload of sleds.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's something, you know, I actually do a lot of plyos, so like I think they get work, but not.
You do farmers walks a lot too?
I don't. You know, it's there's a couple like exercises that are. I don't know if you're like this. Also, when I talk about my training, it's like I'm just telling you what I like. Like, you know what I mean? But like, there's like a couple like popular exercises that I've just never really done, and there's no reason. Like, I think farmers walks are probably good.
Yeah.
Personally, I've always sort of felt like, what am I doing when I'm doing them? Like, I don't, you know, like just being dead honest. Like, and it's actually funny because being a trainer, there's being a lifter and there's being a trainer, but every client always asks, what muscle is this one working?
I know.
And on compound moves, it's kind of like, you want to be like, it's complicated. Like, there's a lot of answers to this question, but when you train people, I think it's important to speak their language. So you would actually you wouldn't, because you're like a very evolved guy, but like a lot of trainers would probably think I'm really stupid the way I talk to my clients, because it'll be like, you know, which one does this work? And if they're doing a push-up, I could be like chest, shoulders, triceps, abs, core, glutes. Like, I love when people are like, push-ups are full body, because they're like, I'm like, yeah, but like not really. It's chest.
Right.
It's chest.
Let's
like
see your quads get bigger.
You do have to like tense your legs and stuff,
Yeah.
but like it ain't legs. It's, it's like, you know.
Right,
So, like, but I will be like, even moreover, like if a basketball guy asks me like what Bulgarian split squats works, I'm like, it's your quads. If a girl asks me, I'm like, it's your glutes. I dumb it down to like one muscle, because they just like want to know the answer.
Yeah.
And then if I know it's somebody that's like interested, I'll explain like there's a lot of working parts here. But most people really aren't that interested.
No,
it's
not
like
at
they
all.
have. I sometimes fall into the trap as a trainer of over explaining stuff to clients because I just like it more than them.
Yeah.
And then it's like I think either 2 or 3 winters ago, my air conditioner at my house went kaput, and the guy came over, and he gave me the longest fucking speech about like the different options that I had for the air conditioner. And I was just like, my man, I don't know how much to tell you. Like, I couldn't possibly care less about anything you just told me. I just want to know, like, the way I am, I'm like, I don't want the cheapest because that'll probably break, but I don't want the most expensive. Just give me the middle of the road. I don't give a shit. But the way he was explaining it, it actually, when he left, I told my buddy the next day that I lived with, I'm like, dude, I think that's probably how I sound sometimes to my clients when I'm telling them about the nuances of this training. Like, they probably just yes me, but they don't give a fuck. Like, they just want to know how many reps to do and keep it moving. So, it, like, that sometimes those out-of-training interactions make me a better communicator with my clients because like, I have, like, very few clients that want to know, like, actually, nobody wants to know in the detail that I do about training, but I have some that care a little bit, but most are truly, like, show me a demo, tell me how many to do, and then we'll talk about something else besides training.
Totally, yeah.
And that's just what it is. Yeah.
Hey, I was talking about this the other day with a friend who's trained people for 30 years, and we were just laughing. Like, when you give somebody an exercise that you're like, are they going to be able to do this? I think they'll be able to do it. And then they do it, and it's horrible, and you're like, all right, great. That was just a warm-up. We're doing something else. Like,
dude.
Just kidding. We're not doing it.
Well, for me, it's, you know, actually, it's an interesting thing because I find I train a lot of adults, and so I find that that's a thing when you're working around pain as a trainer. It's you know, I always just work around injuries. I don't try to ever play like doctor or physical therapist or anything. So if somebody's like shoulder hurts, I'll just basically, you know, here's a guy I know that's like good for that, and in the meantime, like, let me know if anything hurts. But you're sort of exercise is like so individual. Like you know, you're a very like health conscious, like, big on joint friendly. So am I. I bet if we really got down to the nitty gritty, like, we don't have to do it here. There's certain exercises that you would be like, if I do that one, it like pisses off my back, and I'd be like, really? Because like,
you feel fine.
I got a bad back and I'm fine. But like, then there's some I do. So as a trainer, there's times that, you know, like for me, if my knees hurt, walking backwards with the sled is like the best thing to, one, not hurt it, two, it seems to make it get better. It just does. I don't go heavy, but I just do it a lot.
Okay.
But just the other day, last week or the week before, I had a woman with some knee pain, and she couldn't walk backwards with the sled, but she could walk forwards with no knee pain. And I was just like, wow, that goes against like my own experience and like everything I read on in articles, but like, it doesn't really matter because like she can't walk backwards, she can walk forwards, where I'm the exact opposite. And you know, maybe it's a different thing in the knee. I'm not really. It's funny. I feel like I'm like a very smart trainer, but in the sense of like, I listen to people and respond accordingly. But then sometimes when I read things, I feel very stupid because I'm like, I don't really. And there's a lot of things that I realized over time that we're right about in the sense of like what to do, but we were wrong about for the rationale. Like, science has disproven stuff. Like, in the 15 years that I've been a trainer, science has like disproven a lot of stuff that we do in terms of the rationale. And I'll sit there, it's funny because I'll like read these like snippets about like, we were wrong about this, and I'm like, were we? Because like the thing still works, but like the why isn't quite there. But like, do I care? Like, I actually don't. Like, that type of thing.
You and I probably agree 100% on all that. Like, I don't think studies prove anything. They maybe show you why something we did 20 years ago worked. We're like, okay, now that makes sense. If they show you that it didn't work, I'm just like, yeah, really? It worked.
Yeah.
It worked for Arnold and Frank Zane, and it worked in the 1980s and 90s. Like, you can't say it didn't work because there was a 12-week study. Like, there's no studies that follows people strength training for 5-10 years, you know? Like,
well, and the people that agree, like, nobody like us has probably ever been part of a study, too. So, like, I put so much value. I actually have a researcher friend, and we always talk about this, but in research world, they say empirical evidence is the lowest form of data. But I actually put a ton of value in empirical evidence, both in terms of myself and more like other people. You know, like I've had,
to me, it's the highest.
I've had most of my clients for like 8+ years, so it's like that is like all the like, and you know, like I just pay attention. I'm very I know I pay attention, and I just And to me, that teaches you more than a lot of stuff.
And then you're gonna learn from people like that too, right?
I actually can't. I hate when I like say something, but then I can't think of an example. But I do remember in the nutrition world, when I first learned about diet, there was this diet, and it was John Berardi, who I love. I think he's actually one of the smartest nutrition guys ever. Just like really like good common sense stuff. But he had this article on T Nation. It was actually before I knew him. And there's a lot of people out there like you. You know this. Like I used to read your website, your blog when I was in college. Like when I was supposed to be studying like my school shit. And it's been very cool for me to go from like looking up to you to being friends. Like that's a very cool thing for me. And with John, it was similar. And I remember he had this thing that was the diet at the time was that you can't combine fats and carbs.
Oh, right.
So the meals could either be protein carb or protein fat, but you couldn't mix them. And the rationale, I could be butchering it a little, but whatever. It was like basically if you eat protein carbs, it spikes your insulin. So then if there's like fat, it'll be stored as fat.
Right. Yep.
And then protein fat meals, you wouldn't have carbs, like you'd burn fat. Like that was the rationale.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I followed that method of eating for like 2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And that was just how I did it. And this is like around when I was in college. And I was like pretty muscular and lean, like very lean actually.
Yeah.
And then I remember somebody.
Were you like 5 meals a day?
I don't remember the meals. I'm not a big guy. Like, is this thing on video?
Yeah.
Yeah. People say I'm not a big guy. I'm 165 pounds, and I've never really wanted to be a big guy.
Yeah.
So I think in my mind, there's like levels to everything. It's funny because most of my friends aren't lifters or trainers.
Yeah.
So in my world, my friends all like think of me as like as the meathead.
Yeah.
And then my trainer friends are probably like, this guy fucking does he even lift? Like, there's levels to everything.
Yeah.
But I've never really wanted to be big, so I would just, in my mind, I eat a lot. Like some of my friends think I eat a lot because like when I get a scramble, I'll ask for 2 extra eggs type of thing. But I think my baseline eating probably isn't as much as like guys that are bigger, like just, whatever. So I don't remember how many meals I think, but I do remember every meal was like centered around protein. I've never measured, but say 8 ounces of protein and then like either carbs or fat. Anyway, I did that for a long time. Then it came out, that rationale is stupid. It's not that simple. Like you still have, when you don't eat, just because you eat fat in a meal and no carbs, like you still have carbs from the meal prior or whatever. And I just remember reading it and being like, oh my God, I've been doing it all wrong. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then I went to take a shower and looked in the mirror and I'm like, but I'm like fucking in shape. Like it worked. Like whatever it was, like it worked. And I think probably the mechanism of why it worked is like, when you eliminate either carbs or fat from one meal, you're like just like none of the meal, like the overall calories.
Yeah.
It probably always does come down to the overall calories.
Yeah.
But that way of like negotiating and organizing it worked because it made sure I got ample protein, not too many carbs, not too many fats.
Yeah.
I didn't my rationale was wrong, but like if somebody told me they were doing that now, I wouldn't try to tell them they were wrong. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that one works. It does. Yeah. It does. And then there's many times when I think over time that the science either explains why something works or a lot of the studies to me, we call them no shit Sherlock studies, where like, it proves something we've just been doing forever. Yeah. And you're just like, I can't believe someone wasted however many months doing that. At the same time. And then there's times I learn stuff that I find useful and to me, the research internet world is an interesting thing because they usually think that like in-person trainers are stupid, and
totally.
I think that sometimes I don't like to disprove science, but I think people could like work together a little bit more in the sense of like, if I was a researcher, I'd be looking at somebody like me that has a clientele that ranges from 16-year-olds to 74-year-olds and just be like asking them questions instead of telling me how stupid I am. Like what, like, what's it really like in there type of thing? Because I can tell you, when I moved to LA, I used to train hockey and football players. Then since I've moved to LA, I've trained no hockey players, 2 football players, and now it's mostly NBA guys. And I can tell you, there's no studies. Anybody that's ever trained NBA guys, there's no studies on that. Yeah. And the game changes when you're really tall.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you know, and like it's funny because a lot of the articles about lifting for tall guys, I have a friend named Lee Boyce. He always writes about lifting for tall guys. He's like 6'4" or something. And then I train a lot of guys over 6'10", up
Yeah.
to 7'2", and I'm like, that's a whole different level of tall. 6'4" in basketball world, you're a small guy.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll never forget, like, you know, a lot of tall guys, they can't do pull-ups because if it's in a rack, even if
Right.
they're on their knees,
Right.
they can't go all the way down with their like, so you just can't do pull-ups. There's
Yeah.
no other reason for that. They're just not built for it.
Yeah.
Some guys are so tall, we don't dumbbell bench because their head's off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
It's really uncomfortable. You know, we can't do chest-supported rows on the bench because like it goes up to here on
Yeah.
like that. They're like that ain't in the research.
Right.
I had to learn that. You know, I'm 5'9". I used to love doing landmine squats for my knees because it's essentially a goblet squat with a little bit more of a posterior weight shift because of the arc of the bar. So you sit back a little. And those feel really good on my knees. And then I'll never forget meeting Roy Hibbert, who's 7'2", and he was having some knee stuff, so I tried to do the landmine squat. It like went up to his belly button, and I had to pull like a U. I had to go, yeah, man, so that's the warm-up.
Yeah.
We had to move on, and I'm going, yeah, that didn't work.
Right.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't teach that in the research,
Yeah.
but like you just look and you're like, well, everything landmine doesn't work when you're really tall because it's not even remotely a vertical press. You're basically pushing horizontal, like, and you're like, oh, all right, I gotta go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
That's why I love talking to people like you because we could argue both sides of any study, like about low reps or rest periods, right? Like you could say, yeah, kind of, sort of, but it really depends on the person, depends on their joint health, depends on the exercise.
Yeah,
like we were saying before, it depends on the day. Like you could be like, yeah, studies show 5 to 8 reps cause less fatigue than 12 to 15. But it's like, yeah, but what if your shoulder kills? Like, you got to do 12 to 15, you know?
And then also, what about if you're like training someone that is adverse to heavy loading and you tell them, we're going to do a heavy set of 6, and they're like,
it's going to be miserable. Right.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. You know, it's like, it's you know, I do think you have to also, too, the interesting thing for me is that the more that I get into training, I was telling you that my goal has never been to be big. So I learned training, probably like most people, I learned from bodybuilders. And I would say the first 3 years of my training was predominantly from bodybuilding with a little bit of powerlifting.
How old were you when you started training?
20, but it was after.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
You didn't start training as a kid?
So I played a ton of sports, but I used to be the guy that coaches hated because I hated lifting.
Okay.
And then
really?
I had a back surgery when I was 19, and the surgery did nerve damage. And so it was L5-S1. The pain was sciatic pain down my right leg. So I had very little back pain.
All the time?
Tons of leg pain. Well, so I had to take a medical leave from school. For 14 months, my leg basically was numb. I couldn't drive. Yeah, it's like nerve stuff. See, nerve stuff actually bothers me more than pain because pain just hurts. Nerve stuff, like when they did the surgery, I pissed my bed twice in a week, and you wake up and you're like, I'd rather be in pain.
Right.
Like that's just weird. You know, my foot would always go numb.
Did something cause that, or was it just like a genetic thing?
Well, so I was born. The first X-ray they ever did showed that I had something called spina bifida occulta.
Oh wow.
Which I don't know exactly what that is, but it definitely predisposes you to disc herniations and stuff. But my L5-S1 disc, the year I was 19, was super protruded on MRI to where I pissed my bed. So it's like they did the surgery. I had a lot of nerve pain after. And so that's actually how I got into lifting, because I tried regular physical therapy for about a year. But the physical therapy protocols for back surgery patients are for like old people because most 19-year-olds don't have back pain. So I'd always been athletic. So even when I was in tremendous pain, I could do the physical therapy stuff very easily. I just didn't see any carryover to my pain.
Right.
So I met this guy, Dr. Rainville, in Boston that had a program called Back Boot Camp. And what it was basically he, at the time, it was actually Dr. Rainville, who I've never talked to. He changed my life without knowing it. And then there's a book called Understanding Back Pain by Jeffrey Sarno. Yeah. I'd recommend it to everyone. It's a little, if you've never been in back pain, it probably feels like bullshit. And then if you've been in back pain, I've heard a lot of people say that it really helped them. Yeah. And he's not a training guy, but I would stand by that book helped me.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. Yep. It's a great book. Dr. Rainville had this thing that sort of flew in the face of traditional physical therapy, but it was basically like, hey, you got to get stronger. At the time, the regular physical therapy was sort of like avoiding what hurts and doing like really wimpy training.
Yeah.
And that didn't help me.
What year was this?
This was 2003.
Okay.
So went to Dr. Rainville, started this back boot camp, which was basically akin to like low grade weightlifting. So it was this circuit. You'd go to the gym, and it was a circuit of like leg press, lat pull down, tons of planks. He had us deadlifting milk crates that were probably like 30, 40 pounds, but they taught it like a round back stiff leg deadlift to strengthen the back muscles. And then tons. I always say this, and I stand by it. I probably in the years 2003 to 2005, I would bet I spent more time in a plank and did more stability ball crunches than anyone in the country.
Really?
Because it's just, I had this, I've always been an obsessive person, and I was told if you get your abs stronger, it'll help your back.
Yeah.
So I would put on 30-minute Sports Center and do 10-minute front plank, 10-minute side plank each side.
Holy shit.
And just watch the show. And I did that once a day.
Damn.
And then 30-minute plank's a long time.
It's insane.
And then I would do just like, I never actually even counted the reps really on stability ball crunches, but I would just do like a bunch to the front, bunch to either side, like switch it up every time kind of, just a bunch. And
those you were doing every day too?
Yeah. And it's actually interesting because then when I learned, then at some point it came along that crunches were like terrible for your back.
Yeah.
And I was like, again, like actually that's an example. I was going, fuck man, I did it all wrong. I'm going to hurt my back. And I'm going, what do you mean I healed my back?
Right.
Like, like it happened. Like I lived it.
Yeah.
But now it's not, I don't credit the crunches. I did 1 million crunches, but I also did 1 million planks.
Yep.
I did, I started doing leg press, lat pull down. I did full body strength training.
Yeah.
So, but, and also too, there, like the crunches thing's an example because I remember thinking to myself, like, man, I really dropped the ball, like trying to rehab my back by doing these crunches. But then I think that the devil's in the details with almost everything.
Yeah.
In a regular crunch and a stability ball crunch, actually, they're like cousins, but they're totally different.
Yeah.
Because in a stability ball crunch, you go from a slightly arched back to just neutral. You never actually flex.
Right.
Ever. So like, I was doing 1 million stability ball crunches, but I probably wasn't ever going into spinal flexion.
Yeah.
Because like, to make the stability ball harder, you kind of like walk back a little to where like you might not even come to neutral. You might like you barely come up.
Yeah.
So whatever. That's nuanced like trainer stuff, but I focus on the details because I find it interesting.
Same.
But yeah, I did all that training, and then basically I took that and became a meathead. I got into the low grade weightlifting and then really got into training. But yeah,
So wait, well, what was next? Like,
well,
did that, and
so it was basically sports, back surgery, then just lifting. And so for like 4 years.
Well, let's get into like the details of what training.
So then
you were
I just did bodybuilding, and it was basically, I would say it was 80% bodybuilding, like DC training type stuff.
Okay.
Mixed with, so I used to read back then. I would read you. I read Ask Joe DeFranco Q&A. I read Elite FTS, and they had all the different powerlifters kept training journals. Yeah. And I read everyone's training journal daily.
Right.
I read T Nation daily. I read the DC Training Forum, where actually I met Sam Miller. When I was telling you I met Sam Miller way back in the day, it was called Intense Muscle Weightlifting Forum. I read that every day. Wow. I kept my because the thing about lifting, particularly then, but like I didn't have any friends that did it, so I used to keep a training log in person, but then I would post my training too, and the other people that were like me, which like there aren't many of us, would be like, hey, cool, like try this, try that.
So you posted it on Intense Muscle?
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, it might still be there. I'm not sure, but I met Sam like way back in the day.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
And that's how I learned how to lift. And then I actually, so I have a YouTube page. This is actually funny. I don't know if people know this. I have a YouTube page that goes back like close to 20 years.
Damn.
But it was because the way that I learned how to lift is I had this little camera that I would put on a trash can in the gym, and I would film myself and then ask a couple of these guys if I was doing it right.
Really?
And I would basically compare what I looked like to what I thought it was supposed to look like, and then do it again. Because it's actually almost everyone that starts lifting. When I look back at my old training logs, this is another thing. I've kept a training log of every workout I've ever done since I was 19.
Yeah,
and I'm 38.
That's
so
crazy.
I have every one. If you said to me like, what did you do like November of 2014? I'd be like, I don't remember, but I'll tell you. It helps me.
Yeah.
I like it. But that's what I would do this and then just sort of like say, does this? But my old training logs, until I was like 20, I didn't start recording myself till I was like 22. But my squat numbers, you would have thought I was fucking Ronnie Coleman when I was a kid. But then I watched myself and I thought I was going to parallel and I was like sky high.
Okay.
So the first day I ever videoed myself squat was like one of the most mortifying days of my life because I used to think like you got to go to parallel or you're a pussy.
Yeah.
And then I saw myself and I had like 375 on the bar for like 8 to 9 reps or something like that. And I'm a skinny guy. So that like on paper, that's strong, but I didn't go nearly all the way down.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, fuck. So for me to go all the way down, I had to drop it to like 185, 195 and work my way back up.
Yeah.
But the videoing really helped me. But I was actually doing like you ever read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell?
No.
So he has this concept. There's another book called Talent Code where the guy talks about the same thing, but it's basically the idea of like going through the motions versus deliberate practice. They call it deliberate practice. And to me, that's like anything you ever want to get good at. Like you can tell the people that are probably going to get good because like when I was like 19, before I was a trainer, I was like recording my workouts and videotaping them like to make sure they were right. Like that wasn't to like post to my followers or anything. That was just like, let me see if I'm squatting right type of thing. So it was sort of like I was probably meant to be a trainer.
Right.
In the sense of like I care about like the stuff that other people don't care about.
Yeah.
You know, but I did the bodybuilding and powerlifting, and then
did you do like a heavy West Side phase or not really?
Never, no.
Okay.
You know, I've never back even like I hated back squats before it was like cool to hate back squats because I have never lifted with a clean bill of health. I had a back surgery before I ever got into training.
Right.
So the main exercise that always bothered me now, as I get a little older, a lot more exercises start to bother me.
Yeah.
But back squat always bothered me. I could conventional deadlift fine and stuff, but back squat always hurt not my lower back, but my right hip. Just always did. After a certain weight, it just hurt. Like, and there's all these things online about like if something hurts, like it's probably your form. Like, I use good form. Like certain shit just hurts.
Yeah.
So like I never really back squatted. I did for like a year and then I stopped.
So you were smarter than me. Back squats always hurt me, but I just kept plowing through.
Yeah,
and
no,
I hit my smelling salts and.
Yeah, I think it's different when you've had like a surgery that puts you on the shelf for a year. I'm like, and the other thing about me, I actually have to check my clients on this sometimes, but like, there's been times that I've worked through injuries and stuff, like to like that bravado type thing that you're talking about, and then I go, like my goals are literally just to be like thin and strong. Like, why the fuck am I like gutting out this hypertrophy move? And I don't even want to get big. Like, what am I even doing it for? Like, you know, it's like, you know, like it would be like, I still am stupid sometimes, but like that, like, I don't even want to get big. So like gutting out like back squats to go home and like not even eat that much because I don't want to get big, like makes zero sense. Yeah. So I've had an easier time being like, like maybe just don't do that type of thing. But I did that for a while. And then I started to get more into like performance training. Because one thing is when I was, I've always just liked sports, and I'm always like a pretty athletic guy. And I remember one time when I was like a teenager and stuff, before I ever lifted, I could always touch the rim when we were screwing around on the basketball court. Always touch the rim. Like, you know, I can dunk a mini ball. I can't dunk a big ball. But then I remember
that's pretty impressive.
Going to thanks, yeah. No, I'm like you know, but I remember when I was like 23, after doing, I used to do the way I train legs was like your heavy set, then your 20 rep Widowmaker type thing. And I remember going to play basketball, and like I was like not getting up there, and I'm like, fuck, you know. But I put on, I attribute it to putting on weight and stuff, but I was just like, this is not it for me, and type of thing. And then the other thing about me, I don't know if most people know this, but my like favorite thing besides, but like in place of lifting everything is golf. I love golf.
Yeah.
And when I was a teenager, I played a lot of golf. Back surgery, I had to take a break. But when I got back to golf, I realized that I kind of like tanked my athleticism and like just natural mobility and stuff by just lifting all the time.
So many people
And
do that.
so then I kind of had like a change where I started training kind of how I do now, which is like more. It's kind of like a blend of like how I would train like it's like a mix of like power, strength work, basically how I would train an athlete, but like a little less intense because I'm not. And so I've been doing that, and then probably a year after I switched to that, I started interning and then working for Mike Boyle, which was primarily, strength training for sports.
Yeah.
And then I learned a lot there, and kind of, I would say my current training is basically like that with like a little bit more of like an aesthetic component.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, it's been like a trajectory over time. Like if you told me, I get way more jazzed up training wise about like someone that can jump high than I do about someone that can squat a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I get way more jazzed up, again, I love golf. So like I'm somebody that if I know like I have a round on Friday, I like chill on Wednesday, Thursday, like type of thing on weights like that. But like for me, my goals are to be like thin, lean, muscular, strong, but have good mobility. I kind of like I always say it's just balance. Like I like to be like pretty good at cardio. Like I like, but not that, like, that type of thing. I like just sort of good at everything. And then probably the last 3 years of my life, I've become even more obsessed with improving my mobility and cardio, because I realized that as I train everyday adults, I realized that, like, in my opinion, like the way to like age gracefully is to have a good balance of like strength, mobility, and cardio.
Right.
Those three things.
Totally.
And you kind of have to look at yourself and be honest with like where your strength is, where and they don't all have to be. I don't think you have to do all three in equal proportions, but I think if there's a glaring weakness in there, it's like worth it. It's gonna catch up to you at some point.
Sure.
Like, so to me, those are the three things. And I realized from years of just lifting that, like, for my size, like, I'm good on strength, and mobility I had a lot of work to do, and cardio I had a little work to do. So I've been like trying to improve those a little bit.
Okay.
And then I still lift. It's like what I like.
Yeah.
I still lift a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But I sort of my focus changes, and then at this current moment of time, it's like probably meatheads will like hate me, but like I get more excited by like a good sleep score than like a PR in the gym.
Right.
Like, so it's like I've been focusing a lot on like health type stuff, like tracking my sleep, trying to improve that, and and if my dumbbell bench goes down one dumbbell, I don't care, type of thing. And
so I want to get into that a little more. Like, what do you do on a regular basis? Like, how much plyo and what? Like, are you just doing like jumps and medicine ball throws, basically?
I do. Yeah, so
plyos,
dude. So one thing about me relative to other, like, my workouts are way more my own personal workouts. Very few people would enjoy. My clients would. If I trained my clients how I train, I'd be unemployed. People wouldn't like it. If I did my online program how I train, people wouldn't like it, because if you ask me my workout, I can basically just like tell you what exercises I do. I don't really switch it up much, and I don't do a lot of exercises. So for me, I used to do a lot more med ball stuff, but I don't have a wall to throw med balls.
Right.
So sometimes I do slams, but to me, slams are like fine, but they're nothing like throwing it against the wall. So like slams, I don't want to say they're a waste of time, but like they're in that area code, like kind of, so I just do the three ways I jump, just depending on how I'm feeling. I either do like a ring assisted jump. It's I just do squat jumps holding dumbbells, or the trap bar. And those
Okay.
are just the 3 I do. And I usually just do like 2-3 sets, 5 reps.
Yeah. Box jumps or no?
No, no, I've never
Okay.
done them. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I feel like the internet and trainer world makes it seem like if you don't do an exercise, like you don't like it.
Yeah.
But to me, it's I was telling someone the other day, but like if say you do 3 workouts a week
Mm-hmm.
and you do 5 to 6 exercises per workout,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all different. To me, there's always carryover in the week, but say there weren't.
Yeah.
At most, I'm doing 20 exercises in a week. So there's like 100 good exercises out there, maybe more.
Yeah.
But like only 20 make the cut. So when I say like, I'm a very I'm pretty opinionated, but I'm also like open-minded. So like I'll just tell you what I like, but that doesn't mean I'm saying the other stuff's bad type of thing.
Yeah.
Like if you said to me, do you like forward lunge or reverse lunge? I'm not somebody that goes, it depends. Like they're both good. There's no such thing as bad exercises. Like I always pick reverse lunge. It's just like I do, because to me, it's easier on the knees, and so like we're just always gonna go backwards. Like and like I've almost never found a point to just do forward lunge, but it's fine. Like and when someone does, I don't like have a conniption.
Yeah.
But I'll say it. So for me, I'll always do some sort of jump. Well, first now I do. I used to never warm up. Now I actually do like a warm up, and but it's I do like probably like 5 to 7 minutes of like dynamic stuff, warm up stuff, and I also stretch. That's like sacrilegious, but I always do always do the pigeon stretch and stretch my hip flexors, either in the couch stretch if I'm feeling frisky, or just like a regular hip flexor stretch.
Yeah.
And those 2 stretches.
What are some mobility drills that you've been doing recently that make a difference, like for hips?
Well, I do stationary Spider-Mans. To me, that's if I only had one thing. If I have 1 minute to warm up, I would do stationary Spider-Man 6 per side. To me, that's like it's good for my hip flexor on the back leg. It's good for my groin on the front leg, which are like the tricky things. And then it's like a little bit of upper body, and so I like that. I do something called pigeon squats. I could show you, but you kind of put your leg at a 90-degree angle on the bench and then pop up and down, so you're like activating the back leg. And I do this. It'd be hard to explain, but it's like this one, like kind of like 3-in-1 thing that I do just because it doesn't take very long.
Okay.
I noticed that when I talk about mobility, it's almost entirely like lower body, like upper body, like. I just sort of like go like I'm like in my whole life I'm like for upper body, like what do you really do? Like I hang and like that's it, I guess. And I do, but again I don't do this with clients.
Well, I think for bang for your buck, hanging is probably the best thing you do.
Yeah, I do hang my whole life. Again, probably the golf background. My warm up is take the driver and do a couple of shoulder things, and in the gym I do it with a band.
Yeah.
But I'm like scared to like ever show that on the internet.
Right.
But like it helps me.
Yeah.
So.
That was another thing I got from Dante like 20-something years ago.
Yeah, the broomstick thing.
Yeah,
broomstick
he loved
thing.
that.
Yeah,
He was like, this
it's
is
funny.
the
Yeah,
number
he
one
loved it, and I was thinking to myself when I read that, like, oh yeah, that's what I do every day in golf.
Yeah.
I just grab my driver and do that.
Yeah. You could actually get a pretty good pump doing that too.
Yeah, if you do it. Yeah. Well, if you and then if your shoulders are good, then you don't even feel it. Yeah.
It's a good one, like if you're about to go out to the beach or the pool,
Yeah,
do 20 of those with a towel or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I do a little warm up, and then my weights, like I always do an upper body push. I do full body. That's one thing. It's a little different than a lot of bros.
You've been doing full body for how long now?
I've been doing full body for like, close to 15 years.
Okay.
I've just always done it. For me, I like it for me because, again, I feel like the goals dictate the programming. Like if someone was I don't want to be big.
Yeah.
So I know that sounds bad like in this setting, but it's so funny. It depends who you talk to, because if you talk to like normal people and you say like I don't want to be big, they're like yeah, me too. But in the bodybuilder world, they're like what a bitch. Like it's different.
Yeah.
But for me,
now why do you say that? Because if you did, would you do a split? Or?
I think to me success leaves clues. I know very, very few bodybuilders that did full body. I know it exists, but most of them do split. So I'd probably do that, I think.
Right.
I mean, if somebody came to me, that's the other thing. Like I train a lot of actors and stuff. I don't train people trying to look like The Rock.
Yeah.
To me, like the goal body that people always repeat is like Brad Pitt Fight Club, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Totally.
That's a totally different strategy than The Rock. It just is, you know.
Yeah.
So, and for me, the reason we do full body with clients is I only have one client with a consistent schedule. For the most part, we go day to day, and I don't know when they're going to come. So to me, full body is just the most practical because if you don't know when they're going to come, a split requires consistency.
Yep.
So if that's not there, we just do full body, and you know, if you leave for then we pick back up.
Yeah.
And so that's just
So I
practical.
think you could tell someone who trains people a lot though, as they gravitate to full body as their main thing too, because like how many people are you gonna have do a back day and rest 3 minutes between sets and like it's miserable.
Yeah.
Like most people I train in person, it's full body.
Yeah, it's full body because one, it's their goals. So
Yeah.
kind of like to me, like I don't know what Cristiano Ronaldo does, but he probably does full body. Like that's how almost every athlete I know does full body, except like football players in the off season.
Yeah.
But football players in season probably do full body.
Yeah.
It's just the way athletes train.
Yeah.
And I think it's the most effective and efficient way to achieve just like a lean muscular physique. Like I mean, it might not be enough volume to get big. I'm not, that's not really my thing.
Yeah.
I kind of like only know one thing, and that's like kind of like the thin, lean, muscular thing. And to me, full body is great for that because it also gets your heart rate up a lot more than just doing like a chest day.
Yeah.
And I like it because everyone that I train, they don't like live to lift. So like that like post-workout soreness that lifters love, most people don't.
Right.
So like we only do one exercise per muscle group
Yep.
and to try to mitigate soreness as much as we can. So
you'll do what you were saying there about the rest periods. Like if you were doing like a dumbbell bench, a row, a split squat, and an ab, you would do those like in a circuit kind of with like a minute rest between, or you might go.
Well, so it's
1A,
more
1B.
nuanced. It sort of depends. So usually the first pairing, we usually do 2 moves, and those will be like the heavier ones. So if we're going like heavy, we usually do 2 exercises at a time.
Okay.
And then if it's like lighter stuff or less loading intensive stuff, we'll do trisets. So it kind of depends. So I know that makes it harder to formulate, but like for example, if the lower body move is a trap bar deadlift or a rear foot elevated split squat, there's probably only going to be 2 exercises in that pairing. If it's a slide board leg curl, like that's way less taxing.
Yeah.
So type of thing. So usually in the beginning, we'll do like 2 heavy moves. So an upper body move and a lower body move. So that could be like a dumbbell bench and a rear foot elevated split squat, both heavy.
Yeah.
Resting, I would say it depends how strong people are. Rest periods like fully like it just depends. So
Totally.
like people that aren't really lifters and don't push themselves that hard, you kind of almost go right to it.
Exactly.
And then strong guys, like to me, after rear foot elevated, I rest like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Before the other leg.
Yeah. It just kind of depends. So the rest periods like vary, but I do encourage people to take their time. So it's like it looks like circuits, but we don't go fast.
Yeah.
And then
And so how often, and I kind of know the answer, do you get people saying, oh, this is nothing like I thought training would be? Or because, most people think it's going to be like CrossFit or Orange Theory, and they're just sweating and their heart rate's 300. And
I think people that associate that, the type of people that like wear their like Apple Watch to look at the amount of calories, really like second guess it sometimes, being like, are we moving fast enough? That type of thing. And I'm sort of lucky now. I have a lot less pushback than I used to because a lot of the people that come to me, because I train high profile people, almost everyone that comes is like, cause I want to look like them. So I get a lot less like questioning. But it is like, you sure we should be like resting this much type of thing. But a lot of people like it too. Like I actually think, that's the thing about in trainer world. Like, there's a lot of guys that you train that like if you just told them we could just sit and talk the whole time, they'd be down. It's not like some people fight you on the rest periods, but a lot of people are like, cool. Like, it's like, and that like Orange Theory thing feels like an assault to a lot of people. It's just so fucking hard, you know? Everybody's different, that's the thing. Like I'm lucky all my training's one-on-one. So, I train a couple girls that just love to lift heavy and take long rest periods and stuff, and then some that like to go a little faster. And the thing about I actually really think for long-term fitness, you have to like what you're doing to a degree.
Yep.
So I'm very malleable in my methods based on what people like when they're not training for anything other than general fitness. Because I always think, with every kind of training, I think as trainers we can be kind of arrogant that our way is the way.
Yeah.
And then it dawned on me one time training a lot of basketball guys, but I was watching the All-Star game, and so say there's 12 guys on each team, 24 guys in the All-Star team, and I was like, every single guy has a different trainer on this All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
So the 24 best guys in the world train 24 different ways.
Yeah.
Kind of like maybe like chill out with like thinking your way is the only way.
Right.
That type of thing. Because I sometimes have like an inner confidence, arrogance, whatever. But like if I train like an athlete that's really good and he has like a good game, I'm thinking like, man, your training's fucking dope. And then you look at the other players who are really good, and they'll post workout clips that I don't necessarily love, but I'm going, they're really good at basketball. Like they're really good. They stay healthy. So like there's so many ways to do this.
Yeah.
For long-term fitness, there's so many ways, So I think I listen a lot to what people. Well, when people start with me before the first workout, I get on the phone with them the day before and we do 3 questions.
Okay.
It's their goals, injury history, and past training history. Goals and injury history are sort of like non-negotiables to make the program. Past injury history gives me a lot of past training history. Gives me a lot of insight into like how they like to train.
Yeah.
And helps me kind of meet them where they're at on the first session. So people that are more experienced in strength training, we start a little farther down the continuum. People that aren't, we start super simple.
Yeah.
I get a lot of women that have never done strength training. They just want to like try it because they think maybe that's like going to help them, but they've never done it. So like our first workout for somebody that's never done strength training is the easiest workout you could imagine.
Right.
Because I don't want them to hate it.
Yeah.
So it's 1 to 2 sets of like little to no weight on a couple things. Yeah. And for somebody that's never done it, that's actually life changing. Like you're a little bit sore in all the places they want to be sore, but not smoked, and then they like it. But if you go too gung ho with someone that's never done it, then they hate it. And also too, this is a thing, for people that don't want to get big, the first couple times, I don't know if you, again, I'm a nerd, but the first couple times you lift after not doing it for a while, your weight actually does go up. I weigh myself a lot, but you get like swollen. Yeah. It's like, so for people that are worried about strength training, if you smoke them the first couple times, they usually do get puffy. You retain more water. When I come back from like a 3 or 4 week vacation and lift really hard and I have that crazy soreness and everything, I can't explain why, but my body weight's always up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's just inflammation.
Yeah.
But so when I start people off that haven't done much training, it's like so low volume.
Yeah.
You really can't even believe it. And we just really slow cook it because I know they'll hate it if we do too much.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's such an important point that I think a lot of maybe newer, younger trainers miss. Like any Nimrod can smoke somebody, Oh. Like I had a session the other day with a female. I put a female through a workout for the first time. She was like, "No fucking way! You're gonna kill me. I'm gonna be sore for a month." She's like, "Every time I do this, I feel like shit. I have no energy." And I was like, none of those things should happen. That's the complete opposite way. I said, if you're even sore tomorrow, I'll punch my own teeth out. Like you're not going to feel like that at all. And we did a session. She was like, and she's like 51. She's like, I've been training for 30 years, and that was the best session I ever did. I was like,
awesome.
I feel amazing.
I love it.
She texted me the next day. She's like, holy shit, I'm not sore.
Yeah,
That's how it should
the
be.
spiel I always give is, I'm not the hardest trainer. That's by design. I'd rather you leave today feeling like I'm too easy rather than too hard. And there's always room to go up. But if I smoke you, we can't go back. You can't go back in time.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I asked those 3 questions. And so typically it's full body. So the thing about personal training is it's full body, but we start every session like when you talk about like an assessment. My assessment is literally just like, how you feeling today?
Yeah.
And we talk about it. It's a conversation. And
then so you change things on the fly.
Yeah,
maybe,
so
right?
full,
like,
So I say full body, but then like I could have clients be like, no, dude, sometimes we just do upper body, and like or sometimes we just do lower body if your upper body's smoked. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's full body. And then what I typically do, because I do like most of my clients, the only time they exercise is when they're with me.
Right.
So if, again, like in trainer world, now there's like, you know, a big emphasis on like zone 2 cardio, for example. I actually love the idea of zone 2 cardio for people that work out pretty often.
Yeah.
But if you have someone that comes twice, that works out twice a week for
Yeah,
60
have
minutes,
sit there for 30 minutes.
you know, zone 2 cardio never makes the cut.
Yeah.
And so to me, for people that work out 2 to 3 times a week for 45 minutes, I believe that full body strength training gives you the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
In terms of strength, cardio, a little bit of mobility in the beginning, and that's the best you're going to do. And
So
then
you'll basically start with a little bit of mobility, like 5 to 7 minutes. You'll do some power, speed, plyo, whatever stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 3 to 4 strength training exercises, or maybe 5 or 6 if it's a client.
Yeah. So usually what we'll do is the warm up, some sort of like plyo stuff, low load but high speed, and then usually like 2 trisets, depending on how fast people move. Sometimes it's 2 trisets, like plus like some like arms and shit at the end, or sometimes it's trisets plus a couple intervals.
Yeah.
And again, if people train more often, then we start getting more nuanced into like a mix of like intervals and steady state cardio. But again, if people don't come very much, the way that we always do it is full body strength training and interval cardio.
Yeah.
I think that gives you kind of the best bang for your buck in terms of how you want to look, your health, everything like that.
And give me an example of like what's the interval stuff look like at the end?
Again, it doesn't really look like much on paper, but we'll do like maybe 2 or 3 half miles on the Airdyne, which usually take like 50 seconds to a minute and a half.
Okay.
It's all time dependent. Usually we don't have that, it's not very much. Sometimes we'll like run my hill twice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be a thing. So the 3 pieces of cardio equipment that I have, I guess are the Airdyne, the VersaClimber, the Ski Erg, and then you could argue if the sled's cardio, and we have a hill that we run.
Right.
So sometimes there will be, if the workout was like a lot of lower body, the cardio might be on the Ski Erg.
Okay.
If it was a lot of upper body, the bike tends to be my go-to. If I had to pick, if you just said to me again, I do speak in absolutes a lot because I am used to like real world people, not internet people.
Yeah.
Like in the internet, every answer has to be depends, or it's like a conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas in the real world, the answer should just be like yes or no.
It should get, because nobody understands that. It's like the guy with the air conditioning, right? It's like nobody cares.
Yeah. So like,
and they're more likely to buy in if you're speaking in absolutes.
Yeah, I sometimes open myself up to like way more like internet conversations than I care to have, because I just say
I care to have zero.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Because I just say like this is like what we do, which, if I just say like I love the bike, someone might be like, why don't you like the Ski Erg? And I'd be like, I do, but like we usually do the bike. Like I just think the bike is like, to me, the best, the Airdyne bike, when you don't have a lot of time, is the best cardio workout there is.
Yeah.
And
anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it. It's good for every injury.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like nobody's getting hurt on it. Doesn't really irritate.
Sometimes knee problems, but for the most part, like it's very joint friendly, and it gets your heart rate up quicker than all the other ones.
Yeah.
So we usually default to the bike.
Yeah.
No, but there's a lot of like other. I do like the Ski Erg. I used to have a rower. I got rid of the rower, but I still like the rower.
Okay.
It just my gym's 15 by 13.
Yeah.
So when I get something new, I have to get rid of something.
Yeah.
So I wanted the VersaClimber, so I had to get rid of the rower.
Okay.
But I like the rower.
Yeah.
If I had a bigger spot, that type of thing. You know, it's there's a lot of training. Like I said, comes like there's a lot of exercises. If you said to me, like I told you, we never do carries. There's no reason for that. I have zero problem with carries, suitcase carries, etc. But to me, again, I'm just talking as me. This is why I like talking with lifters. I would rather, my context is like, I'm somebody that does weights 2 to 3 times a week, usually 3, and 3 times a week for 45 minutes. a lot of my friends lift way more often than me.
Yeah.
My clients, it's like 2 to 3 times a week too.
Okay.
So that's my
Do
context.
you have anyone that you see 4 times a week? Any
Yeah,
clients?
yeah, I do. Yeah.
So what, would you just do another full body day, or maybe more conditioning?
Yeah, we
or-
always do full body. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you do
yeah.
4 full body days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but we modulate the intensity. Like
Yeah.
so, like on the, it's not always as heavy on upper body or not
Right.
as like
Yeah.
But I believe like it. So say you're doing 4 times a week. That's still not a ton of exercise.
Right.
So I still go back to like I think that's the best blend of like strength, cardio, everything.
Yep.
Like so I to me, if I went to upper lower for somebody that only works out 4 times a week, they're leaving a lot on the table in terms of like cardiovascular stuff. So I just like the full body setup.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. And but I'm open to other stuff. But again, like when you talk about carries, my mind, like people love carries. On the internet, I see it's like a primal movement pattern now, and I'm like, fuck, like we've never done them. Like we never do them. But to me, for example, I would prefer when we're only doing 15 exercises a week. I love walking lunges. To me, walking lunge is a carry, but you're working your legs. So we do loads of walking lunges and alternating reverse lunges.
Okay.
To me, that's a carry.
Yeah.
So so maybe we do carries. We do a carry variation where you lunge too. I don't know. So we do that. But
the one carry I really like for Prehab, Rehab, and Dr. Mark Chang. You know Mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
He introduced me to it, and it's more, again, it's not like a hypertrophy or strength thing, but if you have any kind of back or hip or whatever, and QL, just like a slow motion single arm carry, and each step you're taking
like suitcase thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just and
Oh,
not
that's cool.
you're holding like a 53 or
Yeah,
something, right? And each step you're taking like 3 seconds, and you're imagining like there's a string on the top of your
that's
head
cool.
and posturing up. And
I
honestly,
try it, yeah.
by doing those, I just feel better. So it's like, I
Yeah.
know I'm not getting like big or strong from, but I feel fucking
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So you'd keep doing it. For me,
Yeah.
that's like and I like I'll go try it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like I think when you lift a long time, like you don't really always know. You don't always need an explanation for things.
Yeah.
But
Like Doc Chang said, do them, and I did them. I'm like, I feel great. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like I think like that makes sense because like there's a reason he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
Like I think that for me that's stretching. Like it's actually stretching now is like poo-pooed on the internet and everything, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Like to me, like as somebody who's had back problems for 20 years, the best thing that makes me feel better more than anything is stretching my hip flexors and doing the pigeon stretch.
Yeah.
Those two things, like, I don't think there will ever be a study that comes out that could get me to stop doing those.
Right.
And I see about how stretching's bad pre-workout, and then, like, I don't know, I've done it before every workout I've ever done, and I've never, but again, then you look at the research, and most of the, at least me, most of the stretching stuff that I've seen prior to working out is like holding very, very long duration stretches and then going like right into a max lift, which like isn't what me or anyone does.
Who does that? Yeah.
I do like I probably stretch each hip flexor for 30 seconds, each hip rotator for 30 seconds, and then maybe like 15 to 20 minutes elapses before I do my first heavy set because I'm doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So in that instance, I even think a 2-minute stretch is fine. Like if you did a 2-minute couch stretch, you ain't squatting right after that. It's gonna be 15 or 20 minutes before you go on your heaviest set.
Like, that's where like I look at the research and I go like, everyone that's arguing against it like doesn't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just but to me like, so when I used to squat heavy, I used to mostly front squat.
Right.
But I would sit in the bottom of a squat and press my knees out for like a minute before I squat. It just made my form instantly better.
Yep.
I'd be squatting, trying to pry my chest up. My form improves.
Yep.
If I'm going to do heavy Bulgarian split squats, if I stretch my hip flexors first, like they're just way more comfortable.
Sure, yeah.
So, but a lot of time goes by before your heavy set.
Yeah.
So I don't think you see any strength or power decreases.
Yep.
But I do think it's I actually do believe the people that shit on stretching say that full range of motion strength training is the best way to improve mobility, and I actually fully believe that. So it's like I feel like I'm arguing with people, but we agree that full range of motion strength training is the best way to build mobility. But like, how many people lift with a full range of motion right off the jump without doing any stretching.
Yeah.
Like I feel like most people need to do a little stretching to even be able to get like full range of motion, you know? And a lot of people when they start lifting, it takes them like 6 months of like consistent stretching to improve their, you know, like I live in the real world. Like nobody squats like ass to floor on day one, or some people do, but most don't.
Yep.
And it takes like a lot of work to get there. And that work isn't just like squatting. There's other shit that goes into it to get them to be able to, you know, so I think if you have good mobility, you don't have to like do it all. And you're super flexible, you don't have to stretch all the time, but most lifters could, you know, aren't that type of guy.
Yeah.
They're the tight people.
Totally.
You know, they just are, you know. And so I think like the tight people, like every like old guy that's lifted for their whole life would probably be like, God, I wish I stretched more.
Totally. Yeah.
And then like the young internet guy would be like, don't stretch. And I'm like, just wait 40 years. Like then you're going to wish you did. Like you don't need to do a ton of stretching to like do leg extensions. But I do think as you get older, you're going to wish you stretched a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
But I think a lot of the anti-stretching stuff comes from guys that the extent of their physical activity is like leg press, leg curl, lat pull down, and they're like, dude, I'm fine. All I do is lift. And I'm like, because you don't really do much.
Yeah.
But like, good luck trying to run or like do anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you do like personally, and then what do you recommend for clients in terms of recovery stuff? Anything specific?
Man, everyone has different stuff they like. It's so individual. Like if you like, again, like icing injuries. Icing now is poo-pooed. Like icing but like anytime my knee hurts, if I ice it, it feels better.
Yeah.
So I love ice, but some people don't. But I hate ice baths just because I'm a pussy. But I like so for me, I like the foam roller, to be honest with you. Foam rolling my IT bands. Like if I have a lot of like centralized knee pain under the knee, like the knee pain's a tricky thing, but when I get just like general knee pain under the kneecap, foam rolling my IT band nips that in the butt a lot. So I do that. I like stretching. So I stretch two different ways. I have intense stretching and chill stretching.
Okay.
I do a lot of chill stretching at night while I'm watching TV. So that's just like very low load. May even sit like this and just bend forward.
And just hold it for a long time.
That type of stuff. But I do, low load stretching. I'm the worst sleeper ever.
Really?
Over the last like 15 years, I've gone from bad to like, now I'd say I'm like average, but I work at it very hard. But I think sleep's a big thing, nutrition.
My sleep got way better as I get older, which is actually the opposite for most people, but I really just prioritize it.
Yeah,
right? I'm doing things all day.
Yeah, I prioritize it a lot more than I used to.
Because I remember, whatever reason, I don't know why, but once I turned 22, I remember from 22 till like almost like 40, my sleep was awful. And then I just went all in on it, and now it's so much better.
Well, I mean, I just turned 38, so I'm hoping that when I get to, maybe I'm right at the cusp, but like I'm in that 22 to 40 then where it's awful.
Yeah.
But it's something I focus on a lot. But
what are some simple things you've been doing for it now to prioritize?
Well, for sleep, so for the last 4 years, I'm actually the only person I know in my life that does this, but I've seen it a lot. But like when you texted me and I didn't hit you back till the next day, I sleep with my phone in a different room.
I've never slept with my phone in the room.
Okay.
That's why I was about to text you back, but I was like, it's a conversation.
So
I never have the phone
in like 2018 or 19, I started putting my phone in the bathroom, and it's for me it was because a lot of my clients are night owls, so I would wake up like to pee, and then check my phone, and it would be like requests to move times and stuff like that, and it would stress me out because it's like 3 a.m. I can't really work on it, and I'll bend over backwards for schedules. So I would be like, fuck, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make and then it would be hard for me to go back to sleep.
Right.
So now I just sleep with the phone in the other room and check my texts in the morning type of thing. And that helped me because I put it in the other room like an hour before I go to bed or like 40 minutes before I go to bed. So now that said, that makes it seem like I'm one of those like routine guys that like wears like the blue light glasses. Like I don't do like I'm not like to me, like you can take recovery and wellness to a point of like where you don't even live in the real world. So like I watch TV till the last. I fall asleep to the TV, but the phone to me is different.
You turn the brightness down on the screen. That's the one thing I do
on the TV.
Yeah,
I didn't even know you could do that.
I turn it
That's a
down
game changer.
super low.
Oh,
yeah.
I should do that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know
it
you
does
could.
help. Yeah.
I didn't even know you could. But for me, it's the phone is a different kind of thing because TV, I'm just watching like anything that's on at 10 p.m. isn't like good.
Yeah.
So it's all mindless TV
Right,
at that
right.
point. But for me, the phone is like I don't want to be like texting. I don't want to be like seeing
Yeah.
a friend's social media post that I'm actually interested in. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to like keep it boring at
Yeah, you
night
got it.
type of thing.
Yeah.
So I do that.
Do you stop eating a certain amount of time before bed?
Well, I try to. It's actually so I have this sleep tracker on my mattress now. I have that 8 Sleep mattress that
sick.
has the cooling thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's actually cool because I like the bed super cold.
Yeah.
My wife likes it hot.
Oh.
So hers
I
is
like it
like
super
hers
cold.
like a heated blanket. Mine's cold. But that thing tracks your sleep. So it tracks not as in depth as some, but it tracks like heart rate, HRV, REM sleep, deep sleep, breath rate, stuff like that. And so it's been interesting for me because I have had pretty. There's this you know Andrew Huberman?
I don't know.
Okay, he has this sleep stack of supplements,
Uh-huh.
and when I take, there's 4 of them. I forget, it's inositol, apigenin, magnesium, and one other one, which I take. The one I don't take is the magnesium, but
How come you don't take the magnesium?
because I take it in the morning. I just
okay.
I don't know much about supplements, so
Yeah.
I anytime I'm like I don't know. I'm very like middle of the road person. So like probably a million people would tell me like you could take magnesium in the morning and at night.
Yeah.
Like the in my mind I'm like I don't know. It just feels like a lot of magnesium. Like I don't know.
Right.
There's no like answer to that.
Right.
But I noticed that I don't know what combination it is of those, but it increased my REM sleep,
Okay.
not my duration. I mean, dude, I've taken like. In college I used to take Ambien CR, the
Holy
long
shit.
end, and my doctor told me I'm the only non-responder to Ambien she's ever met. I can take an Ambien at 2 a.m. and lift at 5 a.m.
Oh my God.
and be fine. It's like I'm just a bad sleeper.
Yeah.
But I've done that. I try not to drink too much water. Even at dinner, like I try to even stop drinking less water around like 6 p.m.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I even go like 5.
Yeah, and then the funny thing about the eating late, I don't notice if it impacts my sleep, but I also haven't drank for a year alcohol.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But alcohol fucks with my sleep
Yeah.
too. And
What was the why no drinking for you? Like you're never drinking again or what?
No. I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me. Well, so basically, what happened for me is one of my clients was getting ready for something and just went hard on no drinking.
Okay.
And no drinking, working out, super strict diet, the whole bit, like, and I was doing it with him.
Okay.
I did the training and the no drinking with him. I can never, unless I was like gonna have to like take my shirt off for the world to see, I can never eat 100% perfect.
Yeah.
But I went pretty gung ho, and then when I just noticed now, I used to drink, not like a lot, but like pretty consistently. I used to drink pretty much with dinner most to every night, like 1 to 3 drinks.
Okay.
And
what were you drinking? Wine?
Wine, vodka, margarita, Aperol spritz, like, I just would have some drinks at dinner.
Yeah.
And
were you going out to eat every night?
Yeah, I don't cook, bro. So
Yeah.
when I was single, I went
Right.
out every night.
Yeah.
So it's like I just had drinks with dinner.
Yeah.
And with that, I always felt fine, to be honest with you. But I feel like with drinking, you either got to be like in or out, in the sense of like
Yeah.
when I don't drink, even if I have like 1 or 2, I have a really bad headache the next day.
Okay.
So I'm like, I've just been liking it. I
Yeah.
like how I feel. So that I've noticed. But then when you say about eating late, if I eat later, my heart rate on the thing is
100%,
significantly higher,
always.
and it's very interesting to me.
Yep.
And also, I was I guess it's California, so whatever. But I was doing, whenever I do weed gummies,
Mhm.
I sleep great, but my heart rate is like 5 to 8 beats higher on average on the sleep tracker than if I don't. So it's very interesting. So I
Yeah.
actually, Recently, I haven't been doing them. Sometimes,
Which is kind of counterintuitive because you feel like weed calms you down, so you'd almost feel
yeah.
like
But when I eat gummies, I sleep great. So I actually, when I got home from we went to France for a honeymoon, and when I got back, my sleep was terrible. So I did the gummies. It helped me sleep through the night. But I do notice a significant increase in my resting heart rate when I eat when I do the gummies.
Yeah. But what's it like? But you feel great in the morning?
Depends.
Okay.
Depends. It's
gummies
are an interesting thing for me because, like, I can say like 80% of the time I feel great, and then 20% of the time I'll wake up in the middle of the night to pee and be worried I'm dying because like if I over to where
like how many milligrams are you having?
Dude, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way. Like sometimes I'll sleep like a rock, and then my sleep score is not good if I have gummies or something. But 80% of the time I wake up and I feel amazing. Sometimes my sleep score is off.
Well,
and like I feel
so this
great.
is
And
interesting.
sometimes I just don't feel great.
I've noticed zero, like -0 correlation to HRV and how I actually feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My zero. I tend to have so I've actually talked to a lot of people that are way smarter about HRV than I am, and some people just have like higher baselines. Some people have lower baselines. I tend to have like kind of like a low to middle baseline.
I have a really low.
But there's been a couple times that I sleep like shit and my HRV score jumps, and I'm like, man, this thing's bullshit. Like, I've noticed no difference, but I noticed a tremendous difference when my REM and deep sleep scores are high. Even if my total sleep's not high, that's when I notice a tremendous difference in terms of just feeling good.
Yeah.
So I've been really focusing a lot on REM and deep sleep, and it's interesting, like the little I know, you usually hit deep sleep in the very early cycle of your sleep and then REM sleep in the later. So I've been trying to increase my duration more so to improve the REM. But when I have according to my sleep tracker thing, it shoots for a baseline of an hour 10 minutes deep sleep and an hour 30 REM.
Okay.
And when I hit those two, even if my total duration is like 5.5 6 hours, I feel fine. Whereas if I sleep longer but my deep is like 45 minutes or something, I don't feel as good.
Yeah.
And for me, sleep is always just like as a chronically bad sleeper, those nights when you get a good night, it's like, holy shit, this is a different life.
Yeah.
I'm not tired. Like everything's just better. It just is, you know?
Totally.
I look at people that sleep well every night, and I'm like, you just must feel amazing. Like, you just,
I know. On those days too, I'll have like a half a cup of coffee. I'm like, I don't need another cup of coffee. I feel amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been really trying to work on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually noticed, so that's another reason why I like really do a reduced volume of strength training. I notice if I do high volume strength work, I sleep so bad. I just always
in terms of just basically number of sets, like higher volume that way. Or
yeah,
reps
that. Yeah. So like I've noticed a real sweet spot with exercise where exercise definitely helps my sleep, but exercising too much hurts my sleep.
Yeah.
There's like a real sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about like training intensity, meaning like the meathead, not like percentage of your 1RM, right? Like if you go take more sets to failure, like you would have like in the old days of DC versus leaving like 1 to 2 in the tank, does that impact it?
I mean, for me, dude, so I don't remember if we used to I used to go to failure back in the day, like I might get a nosebleed type of failure.
Oh, yeah.
Like I trained
totally.
I don't know many people that like took sets as deep as I did
on every
like
single
compound.
set.
Yeah. So I used to go hard. Now I go less hard. I'm still like so glad I did that. Every thing I did younger that I look back and go like that was stupid. I'm like, but I'm glad I did it because now I think like my version of like taking it easy. I'm like I still go pretty hard.
Right.
Like you know what hard is when you've gone that, you know. But I tend to not go to like failure anymore on the really taxing exercises. Again, it's nuanced. When you've lifted a long time, you know, like going to like all out failure, like where you fail on like a dumbbell press, nothing happens. Like you're fine. But going to actual failure on like a front squat or a deadlift or, you know, a heavy lunge or something, like fucks up the next 3 days. You know, so it really depends.
Yeah. See, for me at my age, like, and you probably noticed the same thing. If I do those hard fucking failure sets like I used to do 20 years ago, where the last rep's like this, like that makes a significant impact in the rest of that workout and the next few days. Or if I go like this, and then I'm like, nah, I'm good. You know?
Yeah, it actually helps me now. I've noticed a lot of that type of stuff. I still love overhead pressing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my shoulders, knock on wood, are like fine to overhead press. That's another one that like a lot of people, you know, say, you know, there's mixed reviews on overhead pressing. I've just always done it.
Yeah.
And to me, I've also done it more. I've always been a bad bencher. Like my overhead press isn't too far off my bench press, believe it or not. But if you told me my ideal physique, it would be like thin with cap shoulders. So I've never really like cared about the bench press type of thing. But I notice now that when I get close to failure on overhead press, I get neck pain now, and I used to not. Like it's always neck pain, and I don't know why. I just know it happens. So I usually leave a couple reps in the tank on overhead press now. And it's just, I don't know why, but it's like I get that neck pain that like hurts to turn your head type of thing. So I just I still do it, but just not to failure.
Yeah.
And I don't go to failure on anything where I can hurt my back, because that's like you know, everyone had, that's my kryptonite. I had back surgery when I was 19. Like the thing that like my right knee and my back are my tricky points. So anything like where those are involved, I back off a little bit.
Yeah. Are there any machine, like, you don't, I mean, you have a small space, like you said, but are there any machines that when you go to a public gym or something you like?
Well,
and that you would...
Yeah. So I think if my garage were a little bigger, every time I go to a hotel, the two things that so I actually got one of them now. I got this cool, you might actually like this thing, chest supported row.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like the T-bar chest supported rows. I just never have. But like a seated chest supported row.
Yeah.
Just about any company I love.
Yeah.
Neutral grip or like a 45-degree angle this way.
Yeah. Have you used the Arsenal?
Maybe.
Arsenal's great. What about the Prime? Those are my two favorites.
I mean, I like all of them. I like hammer strength. I like everyone. Yeah. I like honestly, if I just go to a hotel gym,
Cybex makes some really good
stuff.
stuff.
Anything neutral grip. I like the chest supported row. I do tons of pull-ups, but I like lat pull downs too.
Yeah.
And then the 45-degree back raise. I actually got one that you can fold up, so I have one now.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty cool. So I can fold it up, and then I put it in my laundry room, and then I take it back out.
I see advertised all the time on Instagram.
I'll send you a picture when I get home. It's actually, so I actually bought it from the knees over toes guy.
Okay, maybe that's the one.
He has a. So you basically.
Can you do other stuff on it, or just?
No, it's a 45-degree back extension, but it's for me. It's, you know how small my space is.
Yeah.
So to me, perfect. You know, I can do a bunch of glute ham raises. Yeah. I can do full Nordics for 2 reps.
Wow.
But I still feel, I do the 45-degree back raise, but I call it, actually this is from Dante Trudeau, but I call it an incline glute ham raise. So I do it where you hinge at the hips like an RDL and then pop off the pad.
Yeah.
So I don't do it, like now people do it like round back for glutes. I do it for hamstrings.
Okay.
And I call it incline glute ham raise. But again, I can do full Nordics, but I feel the 45-degree better than anything.
Yeah. So
that's in my situation. I try to only get equipment that can have multiple uses, but the 45 is one machine that I think it's worth it for just that.
Yeah.
Particularly as somebody with back problems, I think the 45-degree back raise is just like so good.
Yeah.
It's great for adults, like just like, you know, Gen Pop clients.
Totally.
So I got a back. You know, you pop it out and it's a back raise, and then it folds to like this thick, and I just put it in the laundry room.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, so when you talk about machines, usually I would say chest supported row and a 45-degree back raise.
Have you ever been on a pendulum squat?
Never.
Okay.
But I know that you and Luca like them.
I love them. Yeah.
So I feel like here's the thing, like I have like 5 or 6 lifter friends that like, even if like I've never tried the pendulum squat, if like I'm at coffee tomorrow and somebody's like, Ben, what do you think of the pendulum squat? I'd be like, it's good, you know, because I just, you know, like my friends that lift like it, you know, so I feel like I'd like the pendulum squat. I used to when I trained bodybuilding. I like hack squats.
Yeah.
I like. They used
And
to
those
have
are
the
okay
leg
on
press
your
called
knees and
this.
back?
Dude,
Maybe it
I
depends
haven't
on the
done them
day.
in 15
Oh,
years.
right,
I'm not
yeah,
sure, but
yeah.
there's a leg press called the squat press.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Yeah, the squat press is like the best. The
Yeah.
Cybex squat press is probably, to me, it's the best, single leg and regular.
Yeah.
I like lying leg curls.
Yeah.
I actually see. I actually probably haven't done a machine leg curl in like 10 years. Not
Wow.
because I don't like them, but just, I train in my garage. No, actually about 7 years because I used to go to this one gym up until 7 years ago. But I see a lot of stuff on the internet that seated leg curls are better than lying.
Mm-hmm.
But just anecdotally, I've never really felt seated that much, and I love lying.
Interesting.
Just like for whatever that's worth. But we do tons of leg curls on the slide board.
Yeah.
And those have great carryover. It's interesting because I used to do glute ham raises till the cows come home until about 10 years ago. And I would do them with like weighted vest and everything like that.
Yeah.
And, I would do glute ham raises every which way. I'd hold a medicine ball over my head, which is really hard.
Yep.
Hold a plate on my chest, do a band resistance, whatever. And I could just do glute ham raises like, no problem. But I could never do those full Nordics, like all the way down, all the way up without my hands. And then last year, I got this little apparatus that now I can do Nordics. I hook it under my door.
Okay.
And I do the slide board leg curls, which is the same kind of motion as a glute ham raise. It's like it's basically like eccentric knee extension, knee flexion. And I got a Nordic my first time. I hadn't done glute ham raises in 10 years, and I used to not be able to do Nordics.
Yeah.
So all I did was slide board leg curls, but I got a full Nordic.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's definitely carryover.
Yeah.
Like that's again one of those things. Like I can't really explain it, but it happened.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love glute hams. I mean, I always feel better when I'm doing them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Glute hams and Nordics, I throw into my lower back too much. Like I tend to arch. That's why I like the 45 degree.
Right.
Because I can do them super strict and I don't arch.
Yep.
But it's potato. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So real quick, let's walk through. So your career. So you went from Boyles, and then you decided to move out here.
Yep.
And then you were working at, we don't even have to mention the name, but you were working at a place for how many years was that? 2 years? 3 years?
No, dude, like 9 months.
Oh, okay.
Like a year. Yeah.
I remember you not being thrilled with that.
Yeah, so I moved out here for a job. Job didn't work out, but it got me out here.
Yeah.
And then I was going to actually move back home.
I remember that.
And then, because I wasn't sure, I moved to California very apprehensively, being like, I don't know if this is for me. And then the job was a bad experience. So I again thought, maybe this isn't for me. And I had a lot of doubts about getting clients on my own.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I feel like trainers, when they work at gyms, always hate their boss. They always sit around in the staff room and and talk shit about the boss and probably think like, I think every employee probably thinks like, man, the boss doesn't even work as hard as me and takes all the credit and blah, blah, blah. And then when you go on your own, you're like, man, this shit is way harder. Like I remember looking at like every boss I ever had thinking like, it seems so easy. They just don't work as much as me. And then when I went on my own, I was like, this is really hard. Now, obviously, if you can get clients, there's a better upside, but it's really hard. So I think a lot of trainers that I talk to that are ready to jump out on their own, I would say half the time I think it's the right move, half the time I think it's the wrong move. Because it's a personality thing. If you're a trainer, I'm like a very simple-minded guy. To me, like if you're a trainer that can get your own clients, you probably shouldn't work for someone. And if you're a trainer that can't, then you should work for someone. Yeah. And that's it. Like and it's interesting. I wasn't sure if I was the type of trainer that could get my own clients. I've really doubted myself, and I was very lucky. I worked for Mike Boyle, and he treated me so well. And when I got the job offer in LA, he gave me the job. He told me he encouraged me to take the job with his blessing, and said, you always have an opportunity back here. Yeah. And so that was very nice. And I remember thinking like I should probably move back. And then when I left the gym, 2 of the clients came with me, and I had 2 clients. And then I got another client off Facebook. and
I never knew that.
yeah, I got a well. So it was interesting when the job I was at, I was at salary.
Mm-hmm.
So if I brought new clients to the gym, I didn't get paid more. I just got busier.
Right.
So I just stopped responding to anyone that wanted to train with me because I was like, all I'm getting is just more clients.
Yeah.
So then when I went on my own, I replied to the people that had asked me to work out. So I got a couple people off Facebook.
All right.
And any busy trainer will always tell you, like, the only way they ever got clients was, like, word of mouth referrals from their clients.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I started with 3, and then, just got a couple more and a couple more and a couple more. Yeah.
I honestly never got anyone that wasn't from a word.
Yeah, that's referral. The thing. It's like, I always hear, like, it's so funny. I'm sure you laugh at this stuff too, but there's all these, like, trainers now that just teach, like, trainers how to get clients.
Yeah.
And they're all failed trainers. So I'm just like, the irony of this is like, well, man, like, for me, I always see it in my Instagram ads now. When I'm scrolling Instagram story, I'll just hit with an ad in between the stories.
Uh-huh.
And it's like from somebody that probably had to shut down their gym going, I will help you how to get so many fucking clients. Yep. You're going to have to shoo all your clients away with this sales funnel. And I'm like, I know so many busy trainers, and they all come they all come from, like, a 10-mile radius of where they work. Yeah. And it's all from their friends telling, their clients telling other people. That's it. Yeah. So it's like, that's what happened for me is I just got clients, and then my clients told other people.
Yeah. Do you ever ask for referrals or no?
No. What I'll do sometimes, I actually try, like, not to ever ask for anything. I try to never ask for anything from clients. Yeah. Like, ever any favors. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is sometimes people will hint, like, hey, I talked to so-and-so last night about training, and, like, they said they were into it. And then what I will do is, like, the next week, I'll be like, because, like, a lot of people, like, say that, but then, like, it's not as important to them if their friend comes to train with me. Yeah. And I get that. But I'll be thinking about it. So, and there's so many times in my life that I tell someone I'm going to do something and then I forget, because I'm a busy person. Right. So what I'll do is, like, if a client hints at something, the next week I'll be like, hey, that person I wanted to train, like, if they followed up, and then they'll, like, kind of write in real time, be like, oh, no, I forgot. Let me check. Like, that type of thing. Yeah. So I don't do it, like, immediately, but sometimes I will, like, if it sounded like something that was intriguing to me, I remind them. Yeah. Like, in the same way that I like to be reminded of, like, there's a million times, like, I could tell you after this, like, when I get home, I'm going to connect you with so-and-so. But, like, if there's, like, traffic on the way home or something. Yeah, totally. Then by the time I get home, I forget. Right. It's just, like, how I am. And it's, like, nothing personal. I just forgot. Yeah. So, like, and everyone's like that. So I nudge people if they hint at it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Anything else that comes to mind, just like a random tip or two for like in-person trainers, maybe mistakes to avoid or tips to grow your business or whatever?
I think the best tip to grow your business is to always focus on client retention over client acquisition. People always ask me how to get clients, and for me, it's more like, dude, from when the first time I started on my own in LA, and, like, I had got all the same clients, and then I just get, like, one new one here and there. Yeah. So if you're somebody that doesn't have, like, a gym, you don't really need that many clients to have a good life off it. So it really just becomes, like, doing a great job with your current clients so they never leave, and then getting a new one here and there. Yeah. And that just comes from, I think, always keeping in mind that we're in a service industry job, where, like, when trainers say they work for themselves, people say I work for myself, and I'm like, I got 15 bosses. Every one of my clients, in some ways I feel like I've kind of, like, climbed the trainer ladder, and probably trainers think that this is, like, that I got it made type of thing. And I can tell you that, like, I feel very fortunate, but at the same time, I never lose sight of the fact that, like, most of my clients, trainers would clear their whole book to train them. Yeah. And so I bend over backwards every day to make it work for their schedule. Yeah. I am very attentive in the sessions. I follow up every day after to text them how they're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and just try to like always do a good job and
Yeah.
never have people lose like, because I think, you know, the minute you stop doing that, you're not a good trainer.
Yep.
You know, you know, it doesn't matter how, when it comes to in-person training, it's fully irrelevant how many articles you've written or how many
Yeah.
social media followers you have, or like if you're respected in your field and talk at seminars.
Yeah.
You know, I could be
Nobody
I could be going every weekend to talk at seminars, but if I am on my phone during the session, if I am not available for them at the time they want, they're not training with me. They don't give a fuck about that stuff. So for me, it really all comes down to just like doing your job well daily.
Yep.
And you know, when you're having a bad day, they don't know it. You're still positive, and just, you know, it's more like the tips I would give trainers are more like common sense life tips than training tips.
Yeah.
But it's just like doing that stuff daily and realizing that, you know, I actually 2 weeks ago, my mom texted me. I've been in LA 10 years now. You know, and it's an interesting thing because when I worked at Boyle's, Mike had this really cool thing that I liked. It called it the 10-year window. He said, you never know how you're going to impact people until 10 years down the line. And that started happening to me with like getting invites to like weddings of kids I used to train.
Right. Yeah.
That's
amazing.
2 middle school kids that I used to train are now trainers.
Yeah.
Like they said, like I inspired them to become a trainer.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You were 13 when I met you.
That
type of thing. So it's that, and it's realizing, you know, I saw another thing. It's actually crazy to me because I've never had like a plan with like, you know, when I moved out here, it was like on the spur of the moment. Like I just sort of, to me, like I just sort of like show up every day, try to do a good job. And then I really do believe like if you just consistently do a good job, you'll get elevated in certain ways. You don't know, I don't know exactly how. Like I still don't have a plan, you know, like I just tried my hand at the online thing. Right now that's good, but at some point that'll probably slow down and I'll try something else. And, you know, every trainer probably had to pivot in the pandemic, and it's what you do. You just pivot, but always try to me, it's like, I'm lucky. I think a lot of trainers are like short-sighted where they'll do like sensationalistic stuff on social media to get famous, but then they're like forever seen as like a sleazebag or a douchebag or something like that. Like I've always kind of like, I've never done anything that like fucked me. You know, I've always kept my integrity and just kind of worked at it, and you know, just sort of like see where it takes you type of thing. But you know, I've you know, and then just try different things. I think that's what we do, and it's like you try this, like the amount of times that like my online program this year has like done pretty well relative to what I thought, but like I tried it 6 years ago and it tanked, and then I tried online training at the beginning of the pandemic and can say that I'm probably the world's worst online trainer. I never got back to anyone on their emails, had to give refunds because I'm the worst. You know, I'm the worst texter and emailer ever. So I had people being like, "You never texted me back." I'm like, "Here's your money back. Sorry, dude." Like I can tell. Like I have no problem saying that. That's not like I didn't like that wasn't it for me, but I tried. You know, you know, you just kind of keep doing that, and
totally. It's awesome, man. This is great. It was long overdue. I've known you for at least 10 years. I don't know, maybe 15.
14. I was looking. Looking 14. Because on the drive over here, I was realizing I hadn't seen you since 2019.
Yeah.
And I've known you 14 years because we met in New York City way back in the day, and I remember that because I was like starstruck. That was like, so when I started, it's very cool to me, because again, that 10-year window. When I started training, that's the other. I love when like a trainer my age is like, I have like 25 years experience. I'm like, no, you don't. But I started, I started when I was 23.
Yeah.
Right after school. I've now been doing it 15 years. I'm a different person. That's like a long time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a long time. But I remember when I was 20, reading your website, and then like I think we connected. I can't remember, Facebook or something. You wrote back to me, and then we connected at this book party in New York.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I remember meeting you and just being like, "Damn, this guy's so nice." Hanging with Sean Heisen.
Yeah.
And just know I appreciate like all that stuff back in the day. I appreciate you being nice to me when I moved to LA. giving me the push to quit my job. Because I think self-doubt's like a big bitch when you're younger. I think and that's one thing that in hindsight always helps with that, like in just getting a little older. But, you know, I actually have a trainer friend who's probably 10 years younger than me, and he's kind of going through it. And now that I'm on the other side of it, of the jump, I'm like, dude, it's clear as day what you need to do.
Right.
But I know what it's like to have that self-doubt and anxiety and feel like I'm going to fall right on my face.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I appreciate you giving me the push back then, because I think you were on the other side of it then, where it felt hard to me, but you were like, it's clear as day what you need to do.
Yeah.
And so you probably look after the fact and are like, dude, I told you so. But at the time it felt like this is harder than you think, man. It's like scary. You know, I think there's that fear. So I really do appreciate that. I appreciate, you know, you just being nice to me throughout it all. And it's cool to have our relationship go from like you didn't even know I existed. I'm just reading your website and looking up to you, and now we're buddies. Yeah. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, dude, I honestly, I got goosebumps. I appreciate that. And I mean, I'm just like, I couldn't be happier for you and proud of you. And like, it's awesome, man. So
thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Awesome.